Alright, it's been a while since I made a video here. I'm out here going through a lot of different stuff. Mostly what I'm going to do today is make a carbon fiber mock-up gear to make a mold. It's for a stick. And I've also got Joe Winroad's landing gear. He had a carbon gear delaminated, and took some resin and I spliced into it a little bit, and we're going to see if it's going to work out. I've got it over there in the oven, got it cooking. Matter of fact, let's go over there and take a look at it. A little over 150. Let's see what we got here. It's been in there maybe an hour, maybe not quite an hour. So I flexed it so it opened up the D-lam, and I wicked some resin down in there, and then I took a cutoff wheel and I cut 2 grooves right here, and I inlaid toe. So I think that'll fix it. Hopefully the post cure here at 150, when it was still wet, it was going to allow the resin to wick down in between these layers that delammed. So we'll find out. That's what I've done so far. Let's see what else here. So what I did is I made a C-temp with a French curve, and I came through here and just sort of duplicated what I wanted. As you can see, it's going to be a little bit bigger, a little bit longer. And this gear is going to flip. This pattern is going to flip, So all you have to do is draw half the gear. I drew it out on the glass here. You can see here where I laid it out on the glass. Put the C-temp over it. Cut the C-temp out. So this is leftover scrap from my wing. Worked out good because I just took the C-temp, traced it on the wing core, or the wing back here, drew a center line down it here, traced it here, put it back on the center line and traced it here, and then cut this out on the bandsaw. Now what this is going to give me is just a rough form. I'm going to lay the carbon over the top of this, and it's going to be pretty crude. It's going to be just laid rough on this form. It's probably going to come up, and it won't be this wide up here. It's going to come up maybe a little wider here, and then I'm going to take it and taper it back here. So I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to actually take some balsa strips and build up a dam here and here, so that'll hold the carbon toe in place. So in order to do that, I think I'm going to have to use some kind of 1/16 inch strips and build it up. So what I got going here, I've wetted these little strips with some Windex. I'm trying to get these little scrap pieces to bend, conform to this styrofoam mock-up mold. what I've done here is I've stripped some little bit of probably 1/8 inch off of these kit scraps. Here's a good reason to keep the kit scraps. That way you're not utilizing a full sheet of good wood. Now this part here, it's not that critical. You just want to make sure that you got the right edge. One of these edges is a little straighter than the other. Okay, so I'm just going to use some Type Bond 3. Pretty liberal here. So this strip is going to form the back end of that dam. A lot of this is just eyeballing. And if you have the right resin to carbon ratio when you make up this mock-up, when it comes time to making the mold off of that gear, you should be pretty close to the properties you want. I think what I'm going to do back here, I'm going to make this mounting plate just a little bit bigger right here. Give it a little bit more of a footprint. Sticking out there. Alright, I'm going to mix up a little HTR 250 106-3. Just shy of 26 grams. So you don't mind talking on the camera, you just don't want to be on it.
There you go. That's
you're all right being in the background.
yeah, I'm a good background person.
Yeah. So yeah, what I do now, start peeling this off. I get some toe going here. Figure out how long I need to make this. Right here. So I made up a form. You know, here, hand me that scissor. See that scissor right in the side there, the orange? Yep. So this form was just an impromptu form.
And you just keep cutting how many of those?
I'm not really sure. I'm going to start with 4. I want to make this gear oversized because then when it comes time to shape it, I'll have something to work with because I'm going to sand it down. I'm going to try to make it teardropped. So this is the stuff I used on your
landing gear.
Yeah, this is what I poked down in those holes I cut. So.
And that's the same kind of resin you use?
Yeah.
And what's the cure time normally if you don't put it in the oven?
Probably.
Do you have to put it in the oven?
No, you don't room temp cure 77 degrees. So this stuff cures probably within 6 or 8 hours. It takes a while.
And it won't stick to that foam?
Oh yeah, it will. What'll happen is when I peel this thing off that form, the foam will come with it. Some of it will, you know, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to sand it all down anyway. So it'll look really bad initially. Pop a bunch on there. Once I get it all globbed on here, then I'll carve it down in a big enough quantity like this where it's cost effective to. This will fill up that gap. And what I can do is spread this out too like this. Alright, so got a little ahead of myself here. This was the styrofoam form. This is all sacrificial here. So that was just to cure it. So I put this in the oven, and 150, a couple of hours, got me where I needed to be. It's coming along. It's takes a while. You just got to take your time and get it to where you want it. The other thing I do when I carve this thing down a little bit and sort of get an idea of, you know, how much spring is in it. So this is going on a little park flyer, so we're going to take this down pretty thin. When I do a lot of this stuff for these little sticks, I don't really worry about plans. I just take the measurements and lay it out on the glass. And what I'm doing here, here's the stab. I'm building up an elevator. Here's a little tip here. I'll go ahead and show you real quick. Let's just say this is your leading edge here. And of course, the way this stab is, it's got an angle. So what I wanted to do is make the elevator, and I wanted to continue with the same angle. So what you do in this case, you take the balsa, which will be this piece right here, and you just take this angle and you sand it into this piece here. And just hold it up there. And then basically this little piece it's got the same angle as that. Well, what happens when you actually want to glue it to the leading edge, if you take this angle, you just sand it and you flip it, okay? You rotate it, it's a perfect complement to that angle. See that? So when it comes time to gluing it, you just take it and rotate it, and then you glue it. That's how you get the angle there. So it's drying now, it's got a little tight bond. So when I actually just pin these pieces here to the leading edge of the elevator, that angle was perfect. Sanded it this way, rotated it, and glued it. There's a little tip. You don't need plans, all you need is just a little geometry, I guess. So now, let that dry.